There's actually a discipleship strategy that Jesus modeled that we see in scripture, and so we can actually use it so that we're not just like teaching people, but we're actually bringing them through that discipleship process of like getting them to actually obey Jesus and to make disciples that make disciples. And that strategy is, we call it MAL, and it stands for, the M is model, the A is assist, the W is watch, and then the L is launch. And so we see all throughout the Gospels that Jesus, he'd be preaching, he'd be healing, he'd be casting out devils, and the disciples would follow him and just kind of watch the whole time as Jesus modeled it. And then, Jesus would then bring them into a place of assist. And we think of like stories like the feeding of the 5,000, where Jesus had the disciples actually bring the food and to hand it out. And so he got them more involved, from like just watching Jesus model it to now they're assisting him in the ministry. And so they're now feeding the people that were there, the 5,000 and the 4,000. And then Jesus brought them into a place of where he would then empower them, and he would stand back and watch. And with that watching, he would then provide feedback when they would come back. And we see it in like Luke 9 and Luke 10, when Jesus sends out the 12 and then he sends out the 70. It actually says that the 70 then came back and reported everything that happened, and they were super excited that the demons were coming out of people, and Jesus was, obviously excited as well. And then he just reminded them that to really be happy and celebrate that their names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. He would watch, they would come back after obeying Jesus, and then he would provide some feedback. And then the L is the launch, where now, in Acts, chapter 1, verse 8, or in chapter 2, where Jesus ascends into heaven, pours out his spirit, and he's like, now you guys go and reach the nations, right? You go make disciples, you go preach the gospel, you go baptize. And then, so he gave them his spirit, but he ended up leaving. And then we see the same model, the strategy actually through like Peter and Paul's life as well, where they would then leave those that they discipled after a time. I think Paul was at a place for a year just discipling and training and equipping. And so this is a great coaching strategy or discipleship strategy that you can adopt into your ministry, where it's really, we see it throughout scripture, we see it throughout the Gospels, and we see it throughout the book of Acts.